If you leave a door half open, soon you'll hear the whisper spoken. If you play outside alone, soon you won't be going home. If your window's left unlatched, you'll hear him tapping on the glass. If you're lonely, sad, and blue, the whisper man will come for you.
Autumn and the spooky season is my absolute favorite time of year. I just feel like I'm in my element this time of year. Beautiful changing colors, spooky stories, pumpkin everything, rainy days and cozy nights. I could go on, but today I wanted to share some of my favorite mystery and thrillers for the season. I'm always adding books to my favorites list, so this is bound to change over time, but here are my current favorite books for the spookier season. Starting with one of my newer favorites, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This book is my new favorite locked room mystery about a destination wedding that takes place on a remote island off of the coast of Ireland. The bride, the plus one, the best man, the wedding planner, the bridesmaid, the body. The Guest List is about a picture-perfect wedding that takes a turn. The groomsmen begin an old drinking game from their school days. The bridesmaid, not so accidentally, ruins her dress. The bride's closest guy friend gives an uncomfortably caring toast. And someone turns up dead. I found this book so atmospheric, moody, and addicting, and highly recommend to those who love a good cozy mystery. Next on my list is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. In this book, a famous painter, Alicia, who, after shooting her husband 5 times in the face, goes completely silent, turning a domestic crime into something grander which captures the public's attention. I believe The Silent Patient is one of those books where it's best to go in completely blind, so I won't say too much, except that it was one of my favorite psychological thrillers yet. I loved the story's structure, which alternates between the perspective of Alicia's newest psychotherapist, who is determined to get Alicia to finally speak, and that of her journal entries. Next on my list is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This book is about a woman, Anna, who struggles with agoraphobia and spends much of her time, when not working remotely, gazing out of her window. One night, while doing so, she sees something she shouldn't have, and her world comes crumbling down around her. I will admit, The Woman in the Window reminded me an awful lot like The Girl on the Train and The Woman in Cabin 10, where an unreliable, probably drunk woman is the sole witness to a terrible event that no one else will believe. Despite the parallels, I actually enjoyed it more than the other two, and found the plot to be more interesting and the characters more likable. I also really liked the way the protagonist's agoraphobia and mental health was portrayed, and I feel the author did a great job with making us sympathize and understand where she is coming from. I also loved the short chapters that left me thinking just one more into the early hours of morning. Next, I have In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I read a lot by Ruth Ware, and so far this book is still my favorite. This book is about what is supposed to be a fun-filled and cozy weekend getaway in the English countryside, but takes a dark twist. Our main character, Nora, a reclusive crime writer, wakes in a hospital bed, injured but alive 48 hours later with the knowledge that someone is dead, and begins piecing together the events of the past weekend. I loved Nora as a character, and at times found her very relatable as an introverted person who also works from home. The plot itself was executed well, and I greatly enjoyed the unreliable narrator, which is one of my personal favorite tropes, as you may have noticed from The Woman in the Window also being on this list. The next book on my list is probably my scariest recommendation, and it is The Whisper Man by Alex North. This book is a dark thriller about a father and son who are caught in the crosshairs of an investigation to catch a serial killer who is known as the Whisper Man, because he lures his victims out by whispering at their windows at night. I know it's a good book when I can easily finish within 24 hours. I loved following the ups and downs of Tom and Jake's father-son relationship, and found Tom to be a realistic example of a single parent struggling and terribly worried if he's doing right by his son. Jake's perspective was especially fun to read through his encounters with the Whisper Man and his creepy, quote-unquote, imaginary friends. And then you get the point of view of the Whisper Man himself, whose internal dialogue will have you chilled to the bone. The story itself is not only incredibly creepy, but has a psychological aspect to it which I loved. I would highly recommend to fellow psychological thriller and crime fiction fans who are looking for a spookier read without diving straight into horror. The last book I have on my list is also the most lighthearted, and it is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This story follows a high school girl, Pip, who chooses a 5-year-old case that happened within her small town as the topic for her final project. While researching, she starts to uncover secrets that someone in town desperately wants hidden, and becomes increasingly unsure that the right person was actually convicted. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is the start to a trilogy, which I'd even recommend it as a standalone because the latter books are very hit or miss, and I don't think you have to read the whole trilogy to enjoy this first book as is. Though less scary than my previously mentioned books, it has a more cozy and fun mystery feel, and was really reminiscent to the Nancy Drew books I loved growing up. And lastly, I have a few honorable mentions, and that is The Breakdown by B.a Paris if you would like another book with an unreliable narrator. The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware is my second favorite book of hers. The Therapist by B.a Paris is one I read this year and really enjoyed. And last but definitely not least, I would always recommend something by Agatha Christie, my personal favorite being Murder on the Orient Express. But that is all for my spooky book recs for the coming season. And with the way I've been reading this year, I can already tell you I'm going to have some new favorites to add next time. If you would like to add anything, please leave it in the comments down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. I hope you all have a wonderful spooky season.